tried, but I could not lie. Now I'm tired. The day coming by, I have nothing to hide, and I'm missing myself. Can't play this movie over and over. I can reach it. I can reach it. Oh, I can reach it for more. Coming back with nothing. I can reach it. I can reach it. Oh, cause I keep trying. My confidence is dying. I want something. I keep coming back with nothing. They're telling me to give up, but I ain't gonna give up until I had enough. I can't settle for failure. I can reach it. I can reach it. I can reach it for the one. But coming back with nothing. I can reach it. I can reach it for the one. Keep coming back with nothing. Baby, you can look around, see, right on around me. You said every other, but why did I You can say I'm perfect. I don't see no other way. Or you try to get on me, baby. Love me to be jealous. If it's not working between us, no need to be jealous. If it ain't working between us, love me to be jealous. If it's not working between us, no need to be jealous. If it ain't working between us, it may be your destiny. Baby, someone other than me. But I guess I have to find one that wanna go one and one. I don't mind to find a woman is right. When you give me first, when you dance about me, yeah, you know what now. Love me to be jealous. If it's not working between us, no need to be jealous. If it ain't working between us, love me to be jealous. If it's not working between us, no need to be jealous. If it ain't working between us. If you wanna love me, if you wanna show me that you care, baby, make me all and all. You have to do more than say. Have to make it work together, come back, make it come back, come fix my heart, come fix my mind, make me see when I was blind. Oh, feel my mind all night. Feel your love in the present. Touch my body, baby. Feel my body next to you. Let me come inside. Our bodies are so into. I can get enough. Feeling like gold that I struck. Come fix my heart, come fix my mind. Make me see when I was blind. Ooh, feel my mind all night. Feel your love in the present. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. This is D. Durrell. I'm at the practice right now at my office, at my main office here in the suburbs of Houston, Texas. I'm here to have a discussion today. I know I've been doing a lot of things that have been somewhat out of pocket from my initial goal of being on YouTube and providing videos, part entertainment, part stimulating, part got into ratchetness and so forth. You kind of get drawn into that stuff, even when at times you prefer not to be involved, just by mere affiliation, you can somehow be a part of things unintentionally or intentionally. So, and what I want to talk about today, guys, um, is about gaslighting. And I'm going to talk kind of in depth. This is not going to be a long video. This is basically going to be maybe 35, 45 to 50 minutes at the most. But I think that it would be appropriate for me to give you all a clinical definition of gaslighting and how gaslighting is perceived in the mental health field versus what I see and hear on YouTube and in other social media outlets, in which every time somebody gets in a conflict, people are throwing out the term of gaslighting. And it's somewhat a bit frustrating to hear people misuse certain terms that don't apply to what they think it should apply. Also, I want to make note is that I am in the process of establishing a domestic violence program. And so I'm going through a host of trainings right now. Matter of fact, I've just completed about, I want to say probably about 15 hours of training. And I have probably another 10 hours of training, which actually next week I will be engaging in another training. And you know what the topic of that training is? It's gaslighting. And I actually plan to record that training, and I'm going to present that in a premiere as an educational tool so that people can understand the true nature of people who really use gaslighting as a form of psychological manipulation to make people think that the things that they're really seeing or experiencing are not true. Okay? It's a form of brainwashing. And particularly in those who have been involved in a domestic violence or an abusive relationship, many of the victims in that situation are victims of gaslighting, and the person who tries to implement that form of torture, I may say, is usually going to deny that they're gaslighting. So I want to kind of point that out. So what I'm going to do, guys, just simply put, I'm going to talk about the mere definition, and then I'm going to speak from clinical terms, and I'm also going to speak from my own practical experience in my practice and in the programs that I have. And I'm going to talk about how gaslighting is used and the effects of it in itself. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I just want to do this briefly. I didn't have enough time to go in depth, but I'm just going to merely give you the definition here. Okay? Gaslighting. Psychological manipulation via being made to question one's own judgment. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or a group covertly sows seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or group, making them question their own memory, perception, and judgment. It may evoke changes in them, such as cognitive dissonance and low self-esteem, rendering the victim additionally dependent on the gaslighter for emotional support and validation. Now, you just heard that. That is a complete definition. Now, for those who claim people are gaslighting, are you telling me that the perpetrator that is gaslighting wants you to be dependent on them emotionally, psychologically? Are you telling me just because you're having an argument that The person who is gaslighting is questioning your memory, perception, and judgment. I would say in some cases, potentially, but not in most cases. What the person is basically doing when we claim that they're gaslighting, they're actually deterring from the actual issue that they're uncomfortable with giving a particular answer. They're uncomfortable with giving truthful information. Therefore, they use things and they question whether or not you are telling the truth or you make sense. That was a person who is operating as Jessica X, who attempted to question the judgment, the perception of other people. Actually, she questioned, and people that are involved in Camgate, they're questioning whether or not your ears actually work properly. They're questioning whether or not you heard what you heard. They want you to believe that you didn't hear what you heard, and that you should believe a person who's never showed proof of anything. Think about that. When we talk about gaslighting, a gaslighter tells you that you're the problem. A gaslighter tells you that you made me do this, or I'm trying to correct you and I'm doing this for your own good because you don't know any better, or you can't do these things on yourself. So you need me. When we look at the way gaslighting, and this book, I use all types of books. This is a cognitive behavioral book. This is stuff that I do clinically, exercises and so forth. Just utilize some stuff earlier on defense mechanisms. A gaslighter wants to control you so that you think, perceive things, and behave in a manner that makes them comfortable and also keeps them in control. I wholeheartedly think that word is used too often because it does not apply to the fact that we are merely arguing over a point. We're not arguing. If we are arguing with each other, that's not a basis for gaslighting. Gaslighting is usually when somebody's trying to control you. When someone is trying to manipulate you into what they want you to do. A person is attempting to discredit you to the fact of there's a process, a consequence in which you are submitting you are submitting your thought process for them to put in their own hands and tell you what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, what to think, when to think, and how to think. The fact that someone is attempting to gaslight you, per se, what you may say, is probably evident that you're not being gaslighted, that there's no gaslighting going on. If you know individual, and I'm going to repeat this, if you're the person that thinks someone is gaslighting you, then the probability is that you're not really being gaslit at all. There's no gaslighting going on. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in a situation of someone attempting to gaslight you, the person who is receiving the end of trying to be tricked psychologically doesn't usually question or point out and can be consciously identify what the gaslighter is actually doing. That's number one. In our essence, in a situation of a gaslighting relationship, gaslighting activity going on, the perpetrator is the stronger from a psychological standpoint. The receiver, the person that's at the receiving end, is weaker. And I've never heard a person on the weaker end of the deal pointing out exactly what the other person is doing. Now, they may question things. They may, and in some of the situations, they may question their own thoughts, their own intelligence. They may question whether they're being loved or not being loved. They may question a lot of things. But for them to effectively point out what the other person is doing, well, then in that case, the gaslighting failed. The gaslighting failed because if you're able to identify that somebody's gaslighting you, the chances are you're not being gaslit. It's simple and it's logical. When I have experienced people who experience some level of gaslighting, it was actually very difficult to identify, particularly on the functional level of the client, because I don't know whether or not they're reality testing, through reality testing, whether or not what they're saying is real or not real, or it's some level of psychosis. Because there are people who have some level of psychosis that will sit here and say how everybody is trying to convince them to do and be things that they don't want to do. And none of the things that they're talking about are true. It's all a figment of their imagination, or it's all just a symptom of delusions from being psychotic. So I just want you to think about that. I'm gonna repeat the definition again. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or a group sows seeds of doubt in a targeted individual group, making them question their own memory, perception, and judgment. Just because I'm making you question your own judgment doesn't mean that I'm gaslighting. Notice they list several things, and you're being targeted. Just because we're having an argument doesn't mean that I'm gaslighting because you don't agree with me. It means that I'm arguing a point that is not consistent with what you think. But if I was attempting to manipulate your mind to try to control you, change how you operate from a cognitive standpoint as it relates to your thoughts, your feelings, your perception, your judgments, there's multiple things that are involved. And again, gaslighting is rooted in total control of one's psychological function so that you can think, behave, and act and respond in ways that I think is fit. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. I want you all to basically keep that in mind, because what a person that gaslight involves themselves in behaviors like, you didn't hear that. And we clearly hear what the voice says, but no, you didn't hear that. No, I didn't do that. No, you're looking at it wrong. A person that gaslights will intentionally act as if nothing that you're saying is correct. But in all essence, they know that you are telling the truth. But they don't care about that because that's not what's important. What is important is that I convince you and control you to do what I want you to do. Another point that I want to express today is the fact that in domestic violence, relationships that have that level of functioning, the perpetrator typically gaslights in the event of an argument in which they feel that they are losing control. Meaning the victim of the abuse starts to question and come to their senses, and then they make you question yourself. You made me do this. It's all your fault. You should have never did certain things. You made me mad. Everything is on you. Everything is on you of what you did wrong. And in all actuality, the perpetrator is the one that created it. Yeah. So my brother says, Exposed to Manosphere says, I know gaslighting happens in the manosphere often. I've met people who do that in person as well. Yes, it happens. It is happening, but there's an overusage of the word that in many instances, every debate, every argument, every adverse situation that occurs between two or more people, just because you're not on the same lane of thinking, as it relates to ideology, doesn't mean that you're gaslighting. And there is some gaslighting. There's a lot that I've heard the gaslighting between people who tell other people you didn't see what you saw, what you know that you had saw. You didn't witness what you witnessed. You didn't hear what you heard. There are people who gaslight about Black women all the time. You can hear it in the voice of these people who have been on child support for 5 or more years, and they're mad because they have to pay this amount of money. There are many people who gaslight when people say things such as, why are you talking about a gynocracy? A gynocracy doesn't exist. And they will gaslight me as if my point of view of a gynocracy being non-existent as being totally false. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. It's quite evident. Let's look at the most credible source that they think there is. Social media, the be-all, end-all of reality. Really? You see how convoluted that sounds? But these are some of the strategies and talking points. I've been gaslit on several panels in which they told me, you don't know anything what you're talking about. It don't matter you got those degrees in counseling. Don't matter if you save marriages. You don't know what you're talking about because you a simp, D. Darrell. You just say stuff just to cape for Black women. I've said this in a previous video about 2 to 3 weeks ago. When I sat into a Zoom meeting, a group, and we were discussing issues of domestic violence, the phrases and terms that these perpetrators use towards women were identical to what you would hear in the manosphere. It was identical. It was almost scary. It was almost scary. Exposed the Manosphere says, shaking my head, similar to Trump, they try to tarnish and undermine expertise. Exactly. Like mine. And I'm like, how can you attempt to undermine expertise when you have none? There's a difference between if you have a certain level of formal training and shown a track record of being successful. There's a difference if you have a certain level of functioning, or you are from an educational or professional standpoint have reached certain plateaus in certain areas that very few have reached. But we're talking about people who make less than $15 an hour, who barely graduated out of high school, and they're still living in their mom's basement. And they're mad at the world because they didn't take advantages of the opportunities that were afforded to them. That's the difference. And when they see a person like Exposed the Manosphere, who works on his PhD, who has published articles, that makes them feel bad about themselves because they're like, why couldn't I have done that? Why is it that D. Durrell always talks about how good black women are? That can't be true. I've never went through that. I'm like, but it never dawned into them. And this is what the gaslighter never looks at. It never dawns to them that they're wrong. I could be wrong. No, to the gaslighter, you have to be wrong because I said so. You have to be wrong because I said you are. You don't need any proof of anything. You're just wrong because I said you're wrong. Facts. So my question is, I've heard the term gaslighting at least 50 to 60 to 75 times in the last 3 days. And that's per day. And I'm like, we have to quit using terms incorrectly if we want to reach a certain level of intellectualism. Because the whole function of being intellectual is to reach the truth, and reaching the truth through a higher plane of thought that allows you the ability to do so. But when you have lazy individuals that don't pick up books to read and write, that don't know how to read research, and then when you tell them what they're doing is wrong because you actually have the ability to know so, and the professional track record to support that, then you're upset. Instead of learning, you want to fight off people that know what they're talking about with nonsense. That's what's happening. What's up, Love Wisdom? How you doing? I also want to give a shout out to Uppy Unicorn for coming in here. Shout out to Tiffany Griffin for coming in. Appreciate you all for being here. Appreciate you for being here. Gaslighting in itself has to be an ongoing situation. It's not a situation in which, let's just say, me and Exposed the Manosphere were talking about a research article. And give me 1 second, guys. Damn, I gotta get to this. Give me 1 second. want to talk to her?
Yeah,
Okay.
we still get, so I don't know.
Oh, no, you're done at the 1:30.
Oh, we done?
Yeah, you're done.
So what do you want?
I emailed you all your, oh, you got it? Good, good, good. Tomorrow, come in and, they're gonna do a music activity.
Okay.
In the music activity, they're gonna do it as a group. And, my therapist, she will facilitate, you can be there to observe interaction and so forth. That's gonna happen for about a good hour or so. And then after that, she will be doing some interviews. Sitting on the individual. And that will be what we do for tomorrow. Okay?
Are you gonna be there?
I may be here in the morning. I'm not, I may or may not. It depends. You know what? I may come early, but I'm not gonna stay. If I do come, I may not, depending on if something comes up, but I probably will be here probably around 10 to 10:30, around that time. Because some of the times I'm not here because I may be in my office in Houston. And that's why I was telling you sometimes I may, they can come by my group home and I have clients there that you can also see and I can facilitate and you can, see and do some things there too.
Okay, just let us know the day you want us to come to this office.
Okay.
So we don't have to come here,
Yeah, like I said, after next week, not next week, but the week after, we can look at it.
But for next week, this is gonna be.
We'll be here, next week. The days you come next week, you'll be here. And I'll make sure I'm here on, Tuesday. And you know the days you want to come next week?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, well, we're not gonna be open next Friday, but we're open this Friday. So it's every other Friday. Yeah. Okay? Sure. Oh, you wanna see how the intake process goes? Sure, okay, what I can do is, whenever we have a new client comes in, I can get the therapist, or I'll probably do it myself, where I can look at a client and I can go through the intake process, the whole process, and you can I can do that actually when I'm here. You just get a client, and I'll just tell them, any new client, just, we'll just take in the insurance information, and all the clinical paperwork stuff, I'll just let them hold it for me, and I can, basically show you all, model for you how to, provide them with.
And we talked about,
Mhm.
the other time.
Sure.
We're gonna be going through the tax code, is that okay?
Yeah, sure, anytime. Yeah, you get a request a chart, she'll get it out for you, you can take a look at the solution. Oh, also, I'm glad you brought this up. For the clients you saw today, you can go up and ask Laura. Every group, there's a list of everybody's name. So if you wanted to jot down stuff today, you can just pick out clients that you saw that, talked, and I don't know what your notes, but there's a list, there's two lists. There's a list for the first group and second group. You can actually, see that list and jot down the name of those that you remember that introduced themselves. And you can use that as people that you saw today. And as a matter of fact, for every day hence on, you can use that list. Okay? Yeah. Once you get in the thick of things, you'll start seeing now. We don't get the foot traffic we used to get because of COVID, but you'll have people come in and do things. We don't. It's greatly reduced. We're doing a lot of, we're doing a lot of online stuff outside of this. Okay? All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Okay. Okay, guys, I am back. Sorry, I was actually having a discussion with some interns that I have. I actually have two new interns that have come in. Um, actually, two new. They're actually black and so on. So they two new black female professionals. For some reason in this field, they're actually nurses, and so they're training to get their clinical hours at my location. And I just went through a, uh, the clinical process of intake, making them aware of the clientele that we have and who they're going to be seeing, and so on, and just making them more comfortable with getting acclimated to the company and how we provide services. So they'll be here 2 to 3 times a week. They'll be here to provide services. They're also strictly doing some observational stuff, and then they'll also be participating in the process. Okay, so I just wanted to pretty much make you all aware of that. So I just got through talking to them and got some things taken care of with that. So I like to say, yeah, so that's pretty much my brief description of gaslighting and the intent of what the perpetrator versus the person who is the victim or who's being accused of not thinking or perceiving or judging things as they should. And so I just wanted to make that point today because the word is used. The gaslight does go on just as my brother exposed the Mansfield stated, but it's in some situations people just using the term just to use it. Some terms are so fashionably used, such as moving the goalposts and using ad hominem attacks and stuff like that. And now gaslighting has become a more prominent word to use. So I'm actually going to get back to work. I have another session in about 2 hours. So I'm actually going to go get a bite to eat, do some paperwork, and then I will connect with you again. Y'all have a great evening. Peace.